So with our handsome Mr. P, oh, nice job, is I wanted to see if we could work a little bit with the beginning stages of some of these lovely stay positions. I did put on his leash. Well, technically it's one of mine. He does have his leash, but it's a little bit of a bungee one, and that one I find is a little awkward for when we're doing certain skills, so no worries. So for the bed exercise, I know we did this a little earlier with Mr. A, is we're just trying to, again, build up some of this generalization for all of the gorgeous guys. I want them to start thinking that maybe targeting a spot and hanging out on it has a lot of great value. So for starters, if he wants to lie down and that's the easier position, I would start there. You can always rotate through, for example, sits or, for example, downs, and see if you can tolerate both. So right here, I'm going to tell him to stay, which again, stay is stay there till I come to get you. Where the weights were hold back and I'm going to call you forward. We were working some lovely weights with Mr. O a little bit earlier too. So if you want to check out his video on some of those weights, that might be another great option. So right here, I'm going to tell him to stay. I know, of course, he's facing me versus facing the camera, so all you get to see is his cute little rump. But again, you're going to feed several little paychecks for being stationary. We do want to be careful that we don't pair a stay with a recall. Again, if you do things a little differently, no big deal. But the reason I like to have a distinct wait and stay is one is being reinforced for the movement and breaking of the position and coming to you. And the other one is for being stuck and not wiggling. So right now, Mr. Handsome is really pooped out. So, oh my gosh, chewing is still really optional. But right here, we're building up that being in our spot has a lot of great value. If you're finding your puppy gets a little excited as you come closer, I like to actually sometimes feed between their front feet. So that way when they're working a down position, the food is actually coming from below and not them trying to reach you halfway and jump up to grab for the food and maybe wiggle from their spot. So right here, if let's say he's doing pretty well, I might add a little bit of distraction, just go and touch some of the products like I did a little earlier for Mr. A. This is really pretty. And remember, so with stay, think about stay like freeze tag with room service or statue stay. So if your pup is a statue, you can't call them out of it because they have no functioning legs as a statue. So right here, let's say I wanted to end my stay position. I'm going to feed my beautiful boy one more little snack. So while he's in this stay, he got his paychecks. And then we're going to say all done. And then we might add a little bit of touch if he doesn't mind. Some puppies, if they feel touch is a little overwhelming, don't add the touch. You could simply say all done. And then if let's say he has a little bit of a challenge getting up, I might collect up his gear, wiggle my fingers, and just get him off the bed. If let's say this was really challenging, again, you don't have to have gear on. I can also just notice his friend got a little bit of snacks on his hair. Sorry about that when they were wrestling earlier. So I'm just going to plop my leash off to the side for now. So let's say, for example, we're going to reset him up on this bed. I might say again, bed or place. Oh, that was a very nice jumping on. So I'm going to feed him for placing on the target first. Then from there, if let's say he is nice and tired, I might ask for this again, lying down position. I'm not sure what you call it. I'll have to double check with you guys. So again, now we're going to tell him to stay. And in the beginning, remember, we're going to work through those 3 Ds like we've mentioned a little bit in the past. So your duration is typically what I like to start with, which is the time frame in which my puppy does well and is successful. And then from there, I like to work with sometimes distractions or at times distance. But I try not to add all 3 at the same time. That would be sort of, you'd rotate through the 3 and see where your puppy's doing well and where they might need a little extra help. So right here, he's already been told technically like we'd have the stay the one time, and then we might add some movement. So if let's say me adding, let's say some distractions from me wiggling and adding a teeny bit of distance here, he were having a hard time. Excuse me, I choked on my saliva, which is also just like the dogs. You may find that you want to sort of gauge if he is breaking a lot, which means he gets, excuse me, he gets up. That means that he either one doesn't understand the setup or that the setup could be way too challenging. Remember also the environment drives behavior. So if your environment is immensely distracting, maybe you have family over or company or the cats are romping around, then it's going to be more than likely a situation where your puppy won't do quite as well. So, but if we tend to try to keep the environment softer and then we build up this understanding with a lot of nice big bank account deposits, your puppy will then more than readily start to offer this in different venues with different levels of difficulty and distraction. So right here, I'm just adding some movement to try to make it a little bit more challenging, but not so hard that Mr. P is failing. So a lot of times if we make training sessions way too unattainable and then we get frustrated and the puppy's failing, then we're pretty much teaching the puppy this is like what we work on, and that might be the thing he gets really good at. So make sure that when you are practicing certain setups with your handsome guy, is that it seems like it's going in the right direction. We're not looking for perfection, remember, we're looking for progress. So if you're finding that you're very plateaued and you're kind of stuck in a rut where nobody's doing as well as we were hoping, oh, so hot, then we may find we might be doing things a little too quickly, or the puppy just really doesn't understand. So make sure not to forget to reinforce the glimmers. So if, let's say, this was way too challenging, I could be literally right in front of my puppy. He could be working this, let's say, downstate, and I could be right here. And I could every few seconds feed this gorgeous guy for not moving. So if, let's say, sometimes you have to lower your criteria so your puppy can be successful, that is a perfectly acceptable place to start. Because if it's, again, so hard and no one's having a good time, how is that going to be something the pup is going to want to grow into and get better with? This is really pretty. So we're just feeding little tidbits between his little front legs for being stationary. As he becomes more fluid, this could be every 20 to 30 seconds. There could be a reinforcement in between each rep. But in the beginning, short and sweet for greater success. So that way we're going and giving a lot of great, almost information that this skill has a lot of great value for him. So now let's say I wanted to end the stay again. I'm going to feed him his last little tidbit, be it directly to his mouth or onto the dog bed. So we're reinforcing the settling on this down position. And now we want to end it. I'm going to say, all done. And if, let's say, my puppy didn't get up, I sometimes wiggle my fingers. And he's like, lady, I'm so pooped out. So remember how Mr. A earlier, if you did get to see him, he didn't quite get up from his position. Some of them do better when you do the all done. You add a little bit of touch. He's like, oh, yes, that's lovely. We could just love him for a minute. What a good boy. And then let's say from here, we might get him up and wiggling, but then there's no food typically for the end of the exercise. I want him to start thinking the best part of this game is being stuck. So because for a lot of puppies, being stationary is the lamest day ever and probably the dumbest thing they've ever thought of. So when it comes to this, let's say he placed himself right onto the cot all again on his own. I'm going to capture those really great moments and reinforce them. So I'm going to tell him once more to stay. And then maybe now I might practice again with a little bit of movement. I'm going to go and just, move some of my items around, wiggle some stuff. So that way me doing different things like loading the dishwasher or putting some food on the stove doesn't equal the puppy has to get up to investigate. So I'm not reminding him to stay. If he were to break, I would just start again. So again, just making some noises, moving some items, and then feeding for this lovely duration. Yes. You would, again, sometimes here and there, don't forget to sometimes mark the behavior so your babes understand like this is the reason behind the food coming. So that way they start to get more and more refined with these setups. Nice. So again, we're going to feed a little tidbit. Beautiful. So again, just some more distractions. Nice. So pretty. Yes. And two, if let's say you ever wanted to do the jackpot, like I mentioned, you'll have your hand or the floor, let's say the ground where he's resting, and you're going to do one after the other to reinforce that being stuck here is so, so good. Nice. What a brilliant boy. And then we could go all done. And he's like, that seems silly. And then we might wiggle our fingers. Nice. And he gets up and there's no food. So then we could go again, bed. Nice. What a brilliant boy. Nice job. So I'm going to feed him just for the placement. Then we might go into lowering, which again, I'm not sure what you guys call it because I know his down is to get off of you. Nice. So again, we're going to tell him to stay. And then again, once more, we're going to work a little bit and then we'll give him a break. This is so pretty. And again, I don't care if the puppies are looking at you, looking at the cat, whatever it might be, as long as they're not moving from their place position or their stay. Again, you could reinforce throughout that whole scenario. If you really wanted to work on eyes on you, that would be something I'd build in later. But for right now, I'd make it where just being in the space and relaxing has a lot of great value. Remember, stays can happen anywhere. I would, though, if you're going to be using a dog bed or a target, is save that only for stays. You could do weights everywhere except for the target bed. And then for stay, you could do those anywhere as well, but I wouldn't, again, pair the bed exercise or place with weight. I would keep it for stay because I want the puppy to think the value is in not moving, and pairing it with a bed or target can be really helpful for them visually, but it can be really nice for other situations where you want your puppy to get out of the dishwasher and go to their dog bed, or off of company and go to their dog bed. And this is where a place behavior can be so nice because your puppy cannot be in the dishwasher at the same time while they're working a place behavior. So it kind of creates one of those situations where one behavior is not conducive to doing another because they can't do them at the same time. Nice. So let's say we're going to end again this beautiful stay for the handsome guy. I might feed him one more snack. Nice. And then we'd say, all done. And then we could wiggle our fingers. He's like, oh, but I really would love to stay here. If you were to ever really get stuck like with Mr. A, I might say again, all done. And then technically I might toss a little something just to get him up and break. But typically think about stay as in all of his gorgeous paychecks with his food happen there. So then your puppy just cannot wait to go back to their spot. What a brilliant boy. So, but if you're not getting this type of setup, make sure to break it down in smaller steps. Do it throughout the time frames when your puppy is not already either overtired, where they're having a rough time relaxing, or when they're really rested and they need actual more physical and mental practice. So maybe doing some of those take it and drop it's, working with the play and toy exchange game might be a great way to then pair this at the end when he's more tired and can be more conducive to doing a really good job. But I'm going to go ahead and give him just a couple little tidbits between his little toesies, call it a day for Mr. Handsome, Mr. P, and we'll give him a little break.